Oh, it's the big bad wolf here. Welcome to another FRWP online session. I hope you're all well. Can you see my headband? Can you see this baddie? And in today's session, we'll be talking about villains in books. Sometimes villains are more interesting than the protagonists themselves because they give the protagonist, the hero of a story, an aim to work for. The hero has to overcome many difficulties to achieve his or her goal, and the antagonist, that is the villain, the baddie, who's the hero's rival, helps the hero achieve his or her aims. We'll be taking a look at some villains in children's books, and we're going to begin with Miss Trunchbull. I'll give you some information about her. The Trunchbull loves to terrorize her students. Worse yet, she abuses them physically and throws them in the dreaded chokey. This is one very nasty woman, but young Matilda, with her kindness, beats this awful school principal in the end. So Miss Trunchbull is the antagonist rather in Roald Dahl's Matilda. We're going to take a look now at the White Witch. Here she is. Now the White Witch, she looks very pretty, but she hides a very awful heart. The White Witch tempts young boys with hot chocolate and Turkish delight, and then turns them into slaves or into stone. So underneath that very beautiful face and body, she is stone cold evil. Let's take a look at Cruella. Here she is. Cruella de Vil is the main antagonist in the Disney movie. She is eccentric, she's very strange, she's fashion obsessed, she has inherited lots of money, but she uses the skins of 99 Dalmatian puppies to create a spotted fur coat. Could you be more evil than that? Let's take a look at Maleficent. Oh, there she is. Now, Maleficent is a powerful fairy living in a magical forest bordering a human kingdom. She becomes evil after suffering a huge disappointment as a young girl. When she was 16, she fell in love with a human peasant boy who chose ambition over the young girl. Does that excuse her evil doing? Now, villains and baddies come in very different forms. So they could be evil monsters ready to take on the world. Sometimes villains are children themselves, children who are very spoilt. What do villains do to make them so bad? They hate children. They might send children to bed without food, without their dinner. Sometimes they even hate animals, which is awful when you're a young child and when you're human, isn't it? Now, in today's session, we'll be talking about the villain in this book, The Kickoff, written by Dan Freedman and published by Scholastic Children's Books. Now, when Dan Freedman was young, he had the ambition to be a footballer like so many young boys do, but that didn't happen. He grew up to become a football journalist, and he's interviewed such famous footballers as David Beckham, Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. Now he still works within the field of football because he writes books for children based on football. So we're going to meet the baddie in this story. Let's read. The trial. So a trial is what young footballers, I'll take this off for now. A trial is when young footballers show what they know in the hope they'll get selected for a team. The trial, Friday 21st July, the last day of term. Kingfield School under-14s trial match, 60 minutes played. The Blues have scored 1, Walsh in the 22nd minute, and the Reds 0. This was it. This was Jamie's chance to prove himself. This was what he'd waited 6 months for. Kingfield School didn't know who Jamie Johnson really was. They didn't know the kind of talent he had. Now he could show them. Dillon Simmonds had no idea who he'd been messing with. Jamie could shove all his stupid words back down his big, fat, spotty mouth with one goal today. That was the plan anyway. But these trials to see who would be in the Kingfield under-14 A-team next year were not going according to the script. When he most needed his skills, nothing was working for Jamie. There were only 10 minutes left, and Jamie hadn't shown a thing. People kept hoofing the ball to him in the air. He was never going to get anywhere like that. He was a winger. So a winger is an attacking midfielder in a wide position. He was a winger. He needed the ball passed to his feet. Jamie had been in pain since the first minute too. He was wearing a pair of worn-out old socks that had holes in them, and his boots were rubbing against his heels the whole time. He'd scored some of his best ever goals in these boots, but today they were hurting him. They had sawn off all the skin on the back of his heels. He was sure he was bleeding. Jamie bent down and undid his laces. Maybe if he retied them looser, it wouldn't hurt as much. He had just done up his laces and was getting ready to stand up and get back into the game when he suddenly felt a knee jar right into his ribs. It knocked him sideways onto the ground. "Oi, Ginger Minger, what you doing on the floor? Had enough, have you?" sneered Dillon Simmonds as he jogged past. They both knew full well that it was him who'd knocked Jamie over, and that he'd done it on purpose. You could see it in his evil smile. "Shut your face, Simmonds, you fat numpty," said Jamie, getting to his feet. Jamie knew that Dillon wasn't really fat. He was pretty much all muscle. But he also knew that Dillon hated being called fat, so it was a good way to wind him up. "Talk to me when you've actually touched the ball, Ginge," Dillon shouted back, laughing as he went. Jamie jogged back to his position on the left wing. He was shaking his head. The sad thing was, for once in his life, Dillon actually had a point. Jamie had hardly touched the ball all game, and he knew it. Mr. Marsden didn't even know he was on the pitch. But then, out of nothing, it happened. A chance. The goalkeeper on Jamie's side belted the ball forward. It was a huge kick, and when it hit the hard, dusty ground, it bounced so high that it went over the whole of the opposition fence. Jamie spotted what was going to happen before anyone else on the pitch. He dashed after the ball and was way too quick for any of the defenders to keep up with him. It was just him against the keeper. He was in. Latching onto the ball, he steadied himself as he waited for it to drop. One sweet strike from his left foot. Then Marsden would know who Jamie Johnson was all right. He could have smashed it on the half volley, but he let the ball bounce to give him that bit more time. Then he swivelled, and with his right foot planted in the ground and his left knee bent all the way back, he got ready to snap through the strike. He wanted to rifle it into the net. But just as he was about to crack the ball home, he was hit by a cyclone of a challenge. Dillon Simmonds, a human truck, had driven straight into Jamie, catapulting him into the air. Jamie found himself lying winded on the ground. His dream goal had been ripped away from him. "Get up, you diver!" shouted Dillon, grabbing Jamie's shirt by the collar. "Get your hands off me!" said Jamie, desperately trying to get his breath back. Jamie wanted to knock him out, but inside he was struggling just to breathe. Dillon had taken him out good and proper. It felt like someone was in his chest, strangling his lungs. The more he tried to gulp in the air, the more it hurt. "Okay, you two, break it up," said Mr. Marsden, who was quickly on the scene. "I saw what happened. You didn't make contact with the ball, Dillon, only the man. It's a penalty for the Reds." Marsden handed the ball to Jamie. Jamie looked around. Everyone else was just staring back at him. None of the others on his team had made a move to take the penalty. It had to be him. Jamie knew it wasn't just the keeper that he was up against now. It was every other player on the pitch. No one wanted him to score, not even his own teammates. Why would they? It was their trial too, and they all wanted to get into the A-team just as badly as he did. Why would they want him to steal all the glory in the last minute? Jamie reached down and placed the ball on the spot. At first, a bump in the ground made the ball roll off the spot. So Jamie picked the ball up and stamped down hard on the spot to try and flatten it out. He could feel his heart thudding as he put the ball back down. "Good luck, Muppet," said Dillon, standing right between Jamie and the goal. He was so close that Jamie could see the little droplets of spit coming out of his stinking mouth as he spoke. "Make sure you don't miss," he hissed. Jamie fended Dillon's heavy frame out of the way. He needed to concentrate. But it was hard. He wanted to be decisive, but he was aware of the doubts sprouting up everywhere in his mind. Thousands of questions were closing in on him at once. Power or placement? To the side? It might go wide. Straight down the middle? The keeper will save it. Mr. Marsden raised the whistle to his mouth. The burst of noise was the signal for Jamie to step forward. "I can't miss, I can't miss," he said to himself as he walked towards the spot, head bowed. And then everything went completely blank. We're going to stop there with our extract from the book. So, why do you think Dillon is so bad? Why is he such an obnoxious character? I'm sorry, I was looking for the word for a moment. So why is he so obnoxious? Could you write in and tell us? You can send us an email on this address, nla@island.edu.mt. I hope you enjoy this session and we'll meet again very soon. Bye for now.